Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, these proposals help us to reflect about our country, where we've come from and where we are going. And at the outset, Madam Speaker, I want to say that if you ask around this country what is so fundamentally life-changing in this bill, so that we must pass it by all means possible before the next election in the midst of a pandemic, if you ask that question around this country, you will get blank stares. I dare say, Madam Speaker, I dare say, nobody will tell you why BBI is so urgent, including its top proponents. Honorable Speaker, our Constitution will endure if every citizen is determined to exercise his or her duty set out in Article 3.1 to defend the Constitution. And therefore, I stand here today in defense of our Constitution as a patriotic Kenyan. Madam Speaker, it appears to me, and this is my opinion, that the real intent of these proposals is to expand the positions of power at the expense of citizens and to negotiate post-regime political deals. I respectfully submit that the attempt to water down one of the best constitutions in the world is not only illegal, but it's also null and void. Madam Speaker, it is my strong view that this is neither a parliamentary initiative nor is it a popular initiative, because those are the only two approaches by which a constitutional amendment can be initiated. It is neither of them. Instead, it is a legal hermaphrodite unknown to our Constitution, having been initiated by the executive with the unfortunate support of the opposition, and the people were roped in at the very end in a desperate attempt to sanitize an illegal process. Honorable Speaker, this bill aims at removing what the executive considers as the inconveniences of the 2010 Constitution on the limits of the powers of the executive. The implementation of these proposals, Honorable Speaker, will lead to higher taxes to cater for a larger parliament and a larger executive. The potential of our parliament, dear Kenyans, is going to be 640 members of the National Assembly and Senate, theoretically. This bill surprisingly is silent on how to tame the fundamental problem of a high public wage bill in our country. Honorable Speaker, how will I support a bill that interferes with the independence of the judiciary by introducing an ombudsman nominated by the executive, vetted by parliament, to spy on judges, intimidate judges, harass judges, and draw back on the independence of the judicial arm of the state? Madam Speaker, the Judicial Service Commission must always remain with a majority of commissioners coming from the judiciary, not from other arms of government, if we have to retain the independence of the judiciary. Madam Speaker, my conscience will not allow me to support a bill that claws back on the democratization of the police by undermining police reforms that were aimed at transforming our police from a force to a service. Madam Speaker, I cannot countenance an amendment of this Constitution to neutralize the powers of the National Police Service Commission and concentrate those powers on the person of the Inspector General of Police. Honorable Speaker, how does a right-thinking Kenyan lawyer of my stature support a constitutional amendment that removes the rightful role of trade unions, Parliament through the Parliamentary Service Commission, and the civil servants through Public Service Commission, their right to nominate members or commissioners of the Salaries and Remunerations Commission? Madam Speaker, there is zero mention or no attempt to deal with the question of the public debt, which is crippling this country, Madam Speaker. This country is on the verge of being wound up, and nobody is talking about it. Instead, we are talking about Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, and more members of Parliament. Madam Speaker, I have heard people defend the 70% of GDP debt burden in this country as sustainable. It is not. I have heard some cavalier mention of the debt burden in Japan, which is 250%, and Singapore at 131%, and the United States of America at 106% as examples why 70% of Kenya's debt is sustainable. Nothing can be further from the truth than that. Take the example of Japan, Honorable Speaker. Japan, 92% of the debt is domestic, is not foreign. Much of Kenyan debt is foreign. Japan, most of the debt is owed to the Bank of Japan, which is the equivalent of the Central Bank of Kenya, in form of government bonds. And the interest rates are almost zero. The interest rates of our loans, which are mainly commercial, foreign loans, 7%, 9%. Japan, Madam Speaker, is a manufacturing giant, and therefore that debt is cushioned by a huge export portfolio. One may want to ask, what does Kenya export? Nothing, Madam Speaker. Japan's debt is also cushioned by the fact that also Japan is the largest creditor on earth, with overseas assets and foreign currency to the tune of 3 trillion US dollars. What does Kenya own abroad? Nothing, Madam Speaker. This country is staring at bankruptcy. And very soon will be humiliated the way Sri Lanka has been humiliated to cede its port to the Chinese. The way Zambia, our brothers down south, are being humiliated to release the international airport, the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, and their equivalent of Kenya Power to the Chinese because of the greed for loans. Madam Speaker, that is what this BBI should have been about. Madam Speaker, I will not support this bill because, among other things, Madam Speaker, the gains, which are few in this bill, can be realized without touching even a single article of the Constitution. I'll give you an example. Implementing just one article, which we have refused to implement, Article 10, will speak to the entire of this eclectic mumbo jumbo of legal amendments that we do not require. Madam Speaker, allow me to read Article 10, which speaks to the national values and principles of governance of our country, which binds every organ of state and every arm of government whenever it is interpreting the Constitution, applying the Constitution, or even implementing public policy decisions. What values should guide public institutions? Patriotism, national unity, devolution of power, rule of law, democracy, public participation, human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and the protection of the marginalized. Good governance, integrity, transparency and accountability, and sustainable development. That's all we need to implement. Madam Speaker, with respect to the 70 proposed new constituencies, I submit as follows. Number one, this is an usurpation, an illegal usurpation of the powers of the IBC, which cannot be countenanced unless there is an amendment to the Constitution further to what we have at the moment. Madam Speaker, secondly, this list in Schedule 2 is dividing Kenya and actually is a contradiction to the stated ideals of inclusivity in the BBI. 28 counties will get new constituencies, 19 counties will be left on their own. What message are we talking? And yet, Madam Speaker, and I want to go on record that I have no objection to more constituencies in any part of this country. But for heaven's sake, Nairobi now has 18 members of parliament. You want to add 12 others. There will be 30 members of parliament in Nairobi. Kiambu has 12. You add 6, there will be 18. Within the two counties of Nairobi and Kiambu, you have 50 members of the National Assembly, which is the size of some parliaments in some countries, the size of Kenya. Yet, Madam Speaker, if that was the intention, then why is Kitui not on the list? Why is Marsabit not on the list? Why is Tharaka Nithi not on the list? Why is Wajir not on the list?
Senator, there is a point of order from Senator Sakaja Johnson.
Madam Speaker, I was initially enjoying the submission by Professor Abraham, who happens to have gone to a very good school, the Duke of York. But Madam Speaker, is it in order for a lawyer of his stature who understands the principle of equality of the vote to question why Nairobi with 17 should get more, yet one constituency with 400,000 people in Nairobi represented by the same person, yet in Tharaka Nithi it is a quarter, goes against the same principle that he is extolling as, you know, a legal scholar, Madam Speaker? Why is it a problem? Madam Speaker, if you want to get a constituency, it does not mean that those who deserve should not get. You should lay claim as to why you should also get, but not those who are underrepresented. Madam Speaker, 400,000, 300,000 people with one member of parliament, and we're talking about equality of vote, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kindiki, continue. I don't know, we have something called...
I hope you held my time for 2 minutes.
Point of argument these days.
Madam Speaker.
Continue, yeah.
Senator for Nairobi did not listen to me. I have a lot of respect for him. He came to the school I went to 20 years that after I left. Is it 30 or 40 years or thereabout? However, Madam Speaker, I said I have no grudge against any part of the country getting a new constituency. I just asked, where is North Horr? North Horr is the size of central Kenya, Western Province, and Nyanza combined. One constituency. And unless you want to tell the people of North Horr, you guys are not Kenyans, unless that is the message, we will not understand these proposals. Madam Speaker, the timing is wrong. With COVID and an economy in shambles, we don't need these amendments. Honorable Speaker, a faithful implementation of this constitution will cure all the issues that have been identified by so many people. Honorable Speaker, I have heard people talk about there being a constitutional moment in this country. There is none. In my humble view, a constitutional moment would exist when there is a general and near universal convergence of opinion among the general public that the amendments are not only necessary, but are also in the public interest. These amendments are neither necessary nor in the public interest, Madam Speaker. Many of the provisions in the BBI bill are laughable, to say the least. Honorable Speaker, we are amending the constitution to make Kenya compliant with the regional integration issues. You don't need to. Article 2.5, which provides that any treaty between Kenya and foreign countries become part of the law of Kenya, is the avenue to use to reach to this desired amendment. Madam Speaker, how do I support an amendment to include duties of the citizen, responsibilities of the citizen? Just implement the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which Kenya ratified in October 1981. How do you support amendments to strengthen Chapter 6 and fight corruption when we have 12 acts of parliament speaking on corruption, and corruption has tripled in the period? Madam Speaker, we are only creating a larger parliament, a larger executive, and entrenching exclusion by saying that once you have representatives of 2 or 5 of the 44 communities of Kenya represented in the national executive, then there will be stability. And the 39, the rest of the 39 are left to their own devices. Madam Speaker, I have seen a curious amendment. And I want to speak to two things because I can see I have 5 minutes. The first one, the danger we are creating by deleting Article 123, which is on the decision making of the Senate. That danger will live with us for the next 2 centuries. Many people who are proposing that Senate now becomes a one senator, one vote matter do not understand the fundamental differences between the National Assembly, which is wired ideologically as a majoritarian house, and the Senate, which is the upper house, which is supposed to balance between the interests of the nation by equalizing counties, irrespective of population and size. Upper chambers around the world exist to only perform that role. Include that as much as we are pushing 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 everything, 1 what, we don't lose the nation. And that is why in this house, Lamu with its 2 constituencies has 1 vote. Nairobi with its 18 has 1 vote. Unlike in the National Assembly, this is an ideological issue. I am ashamed. My colleagues, senators, can sit here and supervise the massacre of devolution in this house. And Madam Speaker, this house now, we are going to have 94 senators. The extra colleagues who are coming on gender issues will have no work. This is a house of devolution. Remain in the National Assembly, do affirmative action programs. What are you coming to do here that the elected senator per county cannot do? We are a house of equity, a house of devolution, and a house of balancing the units and the center. The final remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to make. I remain of the respectful and firm view that BBI and its proposals to amend the Constitution are the unpleasant result of an unfortunate process aimed at settling political scores. All the proposals can be effected without tampering with the Constitution by faithfully implementing the Constitution.
Point of order from Senator Nyamunga. Just have a
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And with all this due respect to the Senator, Professor Kindiki, what is the insinuation that is giving us by saying that what is the rest of the women who will be elected as second members of the county members to this house mean? What does that mean? Does it mean that women will not add value to this house, Madam Speaker?
Thank you, Senator. You have 2 minutes remaining.
And for that reason, I will ignore the question because it is not relevant to what I said. I want to conclude my remarks, Honorable Speaker, with a message to the people of Kenya. when this bill is presented to you, the people of Kenya, in the referendum, because I have lived long enough in this country and I know what is likely to happen. By fire, by force, this process may go on with or without what we have said. This is my message to the people of Kenya. For Kenya, our dear country, to advance from where we are at the moment. The people must learn to be the rightful masters over all the three arms of government and the organs of state, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And therefore, the people in the instant case ought to overthrow not the Constitution, but the men who seek to pervert the Constitution wherever they are holed up. Smoke them out, overthrow them, and defend the Constitution. And therefore, Madam Speaker, on this afternoon, on the floor of the House, so that I, Kithure Kindiki, Senator for Tharaka Nithi, that I will be found to have stood on the right side of history when it mattered, at a time when our country is going through unprecedented difficulties. I will be on the people's side, and I will stand on the right side of history. Madam Speaker, I oppose this motion in totality.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, it is now 12:30 p.m. Time to